BBC News at 6 o'clock. This is Neil Sleet. Good evening. South Africa have dashed England's hopes of winning a second Rugby World Cup with a dominant display in Yokohama. Campaigners have welcomed the government's decision to suspend fracking just weeks before the general election. Turkey has told the UK to take back British terrorists captured in Syria. South Africa have shattered England's dream of lifting the Webb Ellis Cup for a second time with a dominant performance in the Rugby World Cup final in Japan. The Springboks produced a relentless display in Yokohama, winning by 32 points to 12. England suffered an early setback when one of their props, Kyle Sinclair, went off with concussion. Our sports correspondent Andy Swiss was watching at the International Stadium.
Mapimpi kicks for Am. How's this going to sit? It sits for Am. He gives it to Mapimpi, and that might well be the try that sensationally wins the World Cup for South Africa.
A night of jubilation for South Africa. For England, one of crushing disappointment. Eddie Jones's side had begun it as the favourites, but on the biggest stage they produced a nervous, error-strewn display. After Carl Sinclair's early departure with concussion, their scrum was overpowered. They conceded penalty after penalty, and Handré Pollard kept kicking them. The Springboks led 12-6 at the break and extended their lead before tries from Makazole Mapimpi and Cheslin Kolbe sealed an emphatic win.
And they have produced a sublime, destructive performance to beat England and win the Rugby World Cup as Pollard lumps it out of Yokohama, and look at these scenes.
For the England coach Eddie Jones, there was no disguising a desperately disappointing display.
We struggled to get on the front foot. We were dominating the scrum, particularly the first 50 minutes. And when you're in a tight, penalty-driven game, it's difficult to get any sort of advantage. They were too good for us at the breakdown today. And this is a great thing about rugby. One day you're the best team, the next day you got another team that knocks you off.
For South Africa, this was an historic night. The Springboks' first black captain, Siya Kolisi, lifting the trophy. His country's third World Cup, sealed in memorable style.
There was huge disappointment for England fans who'd travelled to Yokohama for the match, but most, leaving the stadium, thought the best side had won.
South Africa deserved it. If you cannot win a scrum, your set piece, you can't win a match. Well played, South Africa.
Disappointing, not what I expected. I thought they'd come up and really step up to the plate, but they didn't.
Hey, it's just a game of rugby, Paddy. Just a game of rugby, mate. It's all good.
It was a disappointing game to watch because there wasn't simply enough rugby being played.
There have been jubilant scenes across South Africa. Fans at bars and other venues set aside the country's divisions to cheer, sing and share drinks. President Ramaphosa, who was at the match in Yokohama, tweeted, "We are the champions." After accepting the Webb Ellis Trophy, Siya Kolisi, the first black man to lead the side, said the win showed what the nation could achieve.
The people of South Africa have gotten behind us, and we are so grateful to the people of South Africa. And, we have so many problems in our country, but to have a team like this, we come from different backgrounds, different races, and we came together with one goal, and we wanted to achieve it. I really hope that we've done that for South Africa.
Our correspondent in Johannesburg, Andrew Harding, reports on the festivities.
Battered, bruised and sank.
It's always good to win. And back home in South Africa today, ecstatic celebrations nationwide.
And there is indeed.
But there's more to this rapture than just rugby. Decades ago, under racial apartheid, the sport was monopolised by the white minority. Not anymore.
I feel as this win actually will unite us more together as a country because we've been segregated with so much that has been going on. So with this win, it means so much.
For many here, it was the sight of Siya Kolisi lifting the trophy that captured the real significance of today. Kolisi, like some of his black teammates, grew up in poverty. Now he's the Springbok captain.
Siya, you did it for the team, you did it for the country. We are so proud of you.
The unity it brings for our people and the joy that it brings for our people. This is fantastic.
24 years ago, Nelson Mandela celebrated South Africa's first Rugby World Cup victory and spoke of building a rainbow nation. For some here, that rainbow has come too slowly or even been a mirage. In recent years, the economy has stagnated, corruption and inequality grown. But today is an encouraging reminder of how much South Africa has achieved. It is, after all, a feisty, multiracial democracy and a world-beating rugby nation.
Environmental campaigners have welcomed the government's surprise decision to temporarily halt fracking in England just weeks before the general election. Ministers say the indefinite suspension was in response to a report by the Oil and Gas Authority, which said it wasn't possible to predict with accuracy the tremors caused by the process. Our business correspondent, Katie Prescott, has been gauging reaction to the announcement.
Campaigners have been gathering at the UK's only fracking well in Lancashire for the past 8 years. Today's decision to suspend fracking there was a moment to savour.
Delighted about it, it's what we've been hoping for all the time. We don't trust them, of course.
It's a very important day. We think this is the end for Cadrilla at Western New Road.
Today's report from the Oil and Gas Authority shows that the fears expressed by campaigners are backed up by science. It says the size and frequency of earthquakes caused by fracking can't be predicted, and the impact to local communities is unacceptable. The government stopped short of a permanent ban, saying fracking had to cease unless and until the science shows it's safe. But scientists say it's difficult to imagine when or if that will ever be the case. David Cox from London Energy Consulting says the decision will do nothing for climate change.
In the US, fracking has been going on for years, all completely safely. So some of us now, with our central heating on today, are actually burning fracked gas produced in the USA.
The big question now is whether the industry will be willing to invest any more money here, in the hope that the science will one day find in its favour and that the regulation could change, or whether this is the final nail in the coffin for fracking in England.
6 years before he became Prime Minister, Boris Johnson promised to leave no stone unturned or unfracked in pursuit of shale gas. With his assessment of today's change of heart, here's our political correspondent, Nick Eardley.
This announcement at the start of a general election campaign appears designed to bolster the government's environmental credentials, although opposition parties are already questioning how long the ban will last. Announcing the move, ministers said there would now be a presumption against fracking unless compelling new evidence was provided. The Business Secretary, Andrea Leadsom, explained.
It remains a huge opportunity for the United Kingdom as we transition to a zero carbon future, but nevertheless we have to follow the science and we have to impose this moratorium straight away, really to give certainty to businesses and to communities.
The Labour leader, Jeremy Corbyn,